Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd here at Availiability RV of Coldwater, Michigan with your November RV industry update. And as you've seen from some of my more recent videos, it is starting to get a little chillier here around the Midwest, but that happens every year. I'm not complaining. I choose to live here. I have no right to complain about it. What I want to talk about today, a lot of, I think, really good topics. We're going to chat about some things if you hang with me. Anyway, I know I never tend to do anything in a short-winded fashion, much to my wife's chagrin. We're going to talk about some things like inventory supply, how quickly things are coming in. If you have an order, how fast do you expect to get it? Parts supplies, potential parts shortages, new RV build quality control, and one that I don't think we've talked about previously yet that I think is going to interest a lot of people is the way that the RV show season in 2021 is probably going to look a lot different than it's looked previously. Another real quick update, just as long as I'm standing here. A lot of you know that we've been doing some lot enhancements, doing some paving work and whatnot. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get everything paved we really wanted to due to some unforeseen setbacks, which isn't that just the most 2020 thing that could have happened. But overall, we're pretty happy. We do still have some unpaved areas a lot, just due to time constraints from the paving company. Not that they weren't willing, they just were already booked on previous projects. And, you know, as a place who certainly understands what it's like when you have multiple clients all wanting the same thing at the same time, we just asked them, hey, get done what you can, make everything else real nice, real solid. And overall, I think things look pretty darn good out here. But more to the point of the video, let's start walking around. First thing I think I want to hit on today is inventory supply and how it's been affected by part shortages. We've been really bottlenecked in the RV industry in terms of getting new RVs replaced here pretty heavily by things like the suppliers just haven't been able to keep up with building enough air conditioners, refrigerators, things like that. Now, thankfully, a lot of that does seem to be subsiding in certain areas, but it's like as one problem's issues are fixed, another one seems to always be on the decline, and isn't that the most 2020 thing that I've said today? Good Lord. We're actually going to probably start seeing a decent clip, not like 20 in a week like we saw last year, but a decent clip of new RV arrivals. And we've noticed the rate at which new RVs are landing here has been on the uptick recently, which is really nice. Don't get me wrong. We're still selling like crazy, and we're still selling things pretty quickly when they land, but it was to the point that we were still selling faster than stuff could come in. And there were folks who, from the local area that came in and were asking us, are we going out of business? And no, absolutely not. We're killing it. But there just weren't enough trailers to go around. The good news is, as some shipments of things like air conditioners and refrigerators start landing, you'll start to see some of those. There were RVs that were built that just had shortages. They were missing some parts sitting in RV yards. So we're going to see kind of like a nice little spike of things coming in. However, as that's happening, we're starting to face new shortages. And we are about to run into the great toilet shortage of 2020 in the RV industry. We haven't been able to get a toilet back on the parts shelf for like 3 months, and now it's getting to the point it's even starting to affect the RV builders because their suppliers just can't keep up. And isn't that just the biggest load of crap you ever saw? I've also really continued to be impressed with the quality control of the RVs arriving, given all of the unprecedented challenges the manufacturers are facing. I can't speak for everybody, every dealership, and every brand in the RV industry, and frankly, I only speak for Availiability RV. I don't even speak for these guys. But what I can say is things have absolutely been way better than a lot of people expected. Frankly, they've been better than I expected. I've made a previous video kind of saying how just due to part shortages, the manufacturers could not overbuild stuff. Because like I mentioned just a second ago, they had RVs that were built with shortages in the yards, but there's only so much physical space. They can't just keep building. They run out of room, so they knew that they had to take their time doing it, because otherwise what they would end up having to do is hit a period where they overbuilt, had no more room in the yard due to shortages, then had to lay people off. Well, that ain't gonna fly. They have to keep people on staff. Otherwise, their build speed, their quality control all goes to pot, and they're not gonna let that happen. So they've been building very consistently, at a good clip, but consistently, which is, I think, how this industry actually works best, is when there's less of a surge and more of a constant flow. We're going to hit on that in a little bit. I also want to give, I think, a quick special nod to Jayco. Like, there's this eagle in the background here, just kind of triggered in my head. The management changes that they went through really this past year, the things that they were saying about trying to get back to what made Jayco special, what made them who they are, the quality control aspects of their brand, it just doesn't seem to be lip service. I actually reached out to a couple of the people behind the scenes there, and they said some really interesting things, and I listened to the words they say. They were starting to say things again like, we get to work at Jayco, not we have to work at Jayco. There's a difference in the mentality, in the pride that they have there, and it's showing in their product. They really are doing a good job here. Now, I've never claimed any brand ever to be perfect. We carry a lot of different brands here, but I think they are making a huge concerted effort to try to put their very best foot forward that they can right now. Meanwhile, brands like Rockwood and Freedom Express just continue to be fantastic in terms of the quality control within their classes. And I tell you one who really doesn't get the credit they deserve, I think, is Catalina. I think there are times, now they're a very popular brand here at Haylett RV, and I think that they're kind of that dark horse. I think visibly there are some times where they kind of get a little bit overshadowed by, say, a J-Flight, a Wildwood, a Cherokee, some other things that we'd have here in that same class. But when it has really come down to the trailer coming in, clean of defects, leaving and staying in someone's parking lot, or in our parking lot, their driveway, I don't know that there's anyone doing it better now. Now, with the volume that they're building, J-Flight, Cherokee, Wildwood, they're doing fantastic, absolutely. But pound for pound, I think statistically, Catalina is actually leading that charge within that segment. Now, one thing I want to do here is, it's easy for me to just say this stuff, but you know, I'm just one guy. What I want to do is something a little different. I've never done this to my people before, and I'm really hoping it doesn't blow up in my face. We'll see. I will publish it regardless of the outcome. I will promise you that. I'm going to do a little bit of a hidden camera routine. I'm going to walk back and talk to the fellas that do the trailer check-ins. And I want to get their opinion of the quality control of RVs coming in this year versus last year, because I think that's going to be very telling. Now, keep in mind, as I'm doing this, the camera work may not be stellar. Not that my camera work is ever great. But, again, I'm trying not to tip them off the fact that I'm recording them. I want to get their honest, genuine, unfiltered response here. This is going to sound like it's out of left field, you know, but the trailers that you've been checking in this year, have, like, what's the quality control been like? You know, same, better than last year? Like, how much have you seen? I'm trying to get a beat on something. Okay.
Well, last year, obviously, I did all the check-ins, and, you know, for the most part, didn't write up a lot. And so far, what I'm seeing on the sheets that I see come in, from what we've gotten, which isn't a lot, but still, I'm not seeing a lot of bad things written up on these new units coming in, which is good.
Awesome. How many have you sent back? Have you had to send anything back?
I have literally sent out 0.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I mean, last year we only had, what, a couple, right?
Yeah, there was a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, good. I think that's a good sign. Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, so that kind of mirrors sort of like what I've been seeing and feeling, because I'm in every new RV when they land here. So I'm kind of like side by side with that guy, but I am more focused on like picture taking and stuff like that. So I'm not always looking at some of those finer details. It kind of just confirms a little bit of what I've been feeling. So I'm kind of sneaking back through the service hallway. I'm going to actually, I'm going to try to do my little hidden camera thing again here. I'm going to go chat with Dwayne, who does a lot of our, like, after Jody or maybe Mike, who you've seen in a couple of videos, do the initial RV check-ins. It goes in and goes through like a full appliance burn and testing. And I kind of want to get maybe Dwayne's view, because he's the guy who sees it now, like for a full burn when it's hooked up to 110 and propane. See if he's seeing the same thing. Hey, Dwayne?
Yeah, hey Josh, I'm over here.
All right. I almost asked, are you back here? But, you know, you answered me. Oh, what do you got going on?
I'm in the middle of a wash and repack. I just washed the bearings all out and using the bearing packer, put new grease in them.
Awesome. I'm a keyboard and mouse nerd. I don't know what any of that means, but, you know. I don't want to interrupt you here. I'll try to make it quick. You do a lot of the pre-preps, and you tend to do a lot of the orientations when people leave with their camper. compared to last year, because you've been here for a couple years now, are you seeing more issues, less issues, different issues, and like, you know, a true honest opinion, like what are you seeing here?
Less issues than last year.
Okay. Is there like any specific area that's had a lot of improvement or anything like that?
Functionality. What we mean by that is we're not having gas line issues, things like that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's obviously a major one. That's why we do those gas drop tests.
Right, exactly.
All right. Have you seen, because I know sometimes like you tend to give people like your own like personal number when they're done with an orientation. Have you had more calls back this year, or
no,
stuff
less.
staying in the field?
A lot. In fact, I'd asked a little bit ago, maybe a month ago, hey, isn't anybody calling or other techs covering them? And they're like, no, people just aren't calling.
What do you, okay. Why do you think contributes to that?
Again, functionality units, we're not having issues.
Okay.
Yeah, we get the occasional call, hey, you know, I can't find my gray tank valve or something, and most people are kind of apologetic
Well,
about
I have that
that.
problem in the dark too, but
They're kind of apologetic about that because there's honestly, and throughout the industry, when I look online, I always see that orientations are too short or too early. But, and granted, there's a lot of information to take in if we were going to do a full orientation on this unit. So most people are just calling back up, you know, almost sheepishly going, I lost where my step light switch is. Do you know what that is?
okay.
You know,
Good, man.
I'm not getting a lot of, hey, it's broke. What do I do about it?
On your pre-checks, the stuff like, because we've been, I mean, everything has been feeling like it's been a shortage struggle lately. Is there anything specifically you think like you've seen where manufacturers have missed stuff, or like do you think that's affected anything?
No, in fact, it almost appears to us that it's going to sound horrible that the shortage has helped. Like it slowed them down on their pace.
That's like the same thing I've been kind of feeling when I see the stuff when I'm doing the camera work.
Like that they've almost have more time to do what they should.
Okay. Well, you know, that's dangerous because when my wife gives me too much time, I get off topic. But, you know, I guess it's different when you're on the clock. All right.
Right.
Speaking on the clock, you know what? I don't know if it's been recently. We need to, are you available in a few minutes to do a wash and repack video?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. All right, so it sounds like we're going to be doing a wash and repack video in the near future here. Make sure you subscribe and follow along so you can pick that up. That is a really good, really misunderstood, often overlooked maintenance thing, and that's the kind of stuff we want to do for you here at Haylett RV. We're trying to keep you in the know, for lack of a better phrase. One of the things I feel you need to know about, and it's true industry-wide. I've done some little other videos touching on this, but material costs, wood, aluminum, copper for all of your wiring, unfortunately, those things have jumped quite a bit this year. And manufacturers, I have seen where they've done their best to try to minimize the impact of that, but unfortunately, it has resulted in some price increases, in some brands more than others, depending on how much of different materials they use. But the folks who, for lack of a better phrase, pulled the trigger, bought in early, didn't wait, they got the same camper that's being built now, but for a couple hundred, potentially a little over $1,000 less in some cases, again, depending on the brand. So it kind of goes back to, I had a different video on the best time to buy an RV is always when you're ready. You know, there's no one time, but it's always when you're ready. And that's another thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the folks, because we're in that kind of funny time of year, that fall winter cycle. And I know that the fall winter cycle is a little different depending on where you live in the country. In the Midwest, we get all 4 seasons in pretty equal quantities. We're getting some beautiful colors on the trees right now. But the people who want to wait for show season, I think this is going to affect a lot more people than they realize. We're already hearing some folks, we're going to wait till show season because that's when you get the deals, right? Well, here's the thing. Show season is never the time to get the deals. That trailer right there, it costs the same right now as it does at a show. The cost of that trailer doesn't change. What does change is the cost of getting it there and advertising it and getting it brought back and all of that stuff. So you can always get the same or better deal every single day at any dealership so that you don't have to pay for a dealership's advertising costs. We've talked about that. Thing is, I don't think a lot of that's really going to matter this year, because I don't know if there's really going to be much of a show season this year. I know that many, if not all, of the big RV shows in Michigan have already been canceled or are in serious discussion thereof this year, months ahead of time. And it does take months ahead of time to plan those things. So they have to start making those decisions now. And I don't know, I don't know how show season is going to work for every different area of the country, but I know around here, doesn't sound like there's going to be much of one. And I say that with confidence because my brother, Mr. Chase Haylett, who's the vice president here at Haylett RV, is on the board for MARVAC, which is the Michigan Association of RV Dealerships and Campground Owners. And he's one of the people that is in the loop on where those shows take place. They're called MARVAC shows in Michigan. MARVAC is the one that hosts the majority of them. So it's not sounding real great for show season this year, but for a couple reasons. Pandemic concerns are obviously one of those. Man, guys, do you remember back in like April, we were all sitting at home and we were telling ourselves it'll be 3 or 4 weeks, it'll be over and we'll be back out there. Boy, did that not turn out the way we thought. I mean, who would have thought this far ahead of time we would still be talking about it? I know I'm tired of talking about it. I know you're tired about hearing it, but it is part of our life right now, guys, and I can't wait for that to go away. But pandemic concerns are a big part of why it doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot of show season. Another thing is, over the next couple months, I mentioned we're going to start seeing some inventory come back in. But so that you understand, like in just the Midwestern sector right now, current inventory volumes on the grounds at dealerships like Haylett RV are on average only 10% of what they normally are this time of year. There's only like, you're seeing a bunch of trailers in the background right now. It's because I'm walking through the back 40. Like everything back here is sold and some of it we're doing some service work on. But like all this stuff, none of this stuff is like available, you know? So you're like, oh, there's trailers everywhere. Not for sale. You know, that's a thing. So the trailers that are coming in are really serving to just kind of stem the hemorrhaging of a lack of inventory that has been unfortunately plaguing dealerships in the industry for a while right now. We have to get ourselves built back up to a decent clip of inventory before we can have any need to facilitate going to these RV shows. Now, I've talked to a couple people who have said, man, I went by XYZ dealership who had a ton of trailers on the ground. There's a couple primary reasons for it. One of the first of which I've talked about previously, and the second of which I haven't. The first reason is we made a decision this year. We were going to really focus on keeping our pricing fair at Haylett RV. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Everyone's made their own business decision. Everyone's looked at the supply and demand aspect of this a little bit differently. But we made a decision kind of keep pricing pretty flat and consistent wherever we could. And even when there's been price increases, like a couple times, I tell you, this sucks. A couple times, a client has called us, emailed us, sent us the credit app, sent us a down payment. We have ordered them a trailer and then found out the cost of that trailer after they ordered it was not price protected from the manufacturers and was going to incur a pricing increase. Now, the folks who have ordered RVs from Haylett RV have not received calls that, sorry guys, we need about another $800 out of you. I would be like, what? No, you guys, you're playing games. We've just eaten a lot of that. So that's a fun thing that's out there. But here's the other thing that I don't think anyone's talked about so far. Dealerships who are requesting incomplete builds. So I've heard a couple people say, I was at such and such dealership. I don't want to name names. I'm not about that life. But they said the manufacturers keep shipping them stuff that's not done. That's not true. Manufacturers don't ship anything incomplete unless specifically requested. So there are groups out there who are buying up incomplete inventory so that they have leverage to strong-arm manufacturers into getting them parts first so they have inventory before anyone else. I'm not criticizing them for that at all. From a pure business perspective, it's very shrewd. I'll say it that way. It's not a dumb business decision. I don't know it's the best decision for a customer though. It puts in jeopardy some relationships, and that's not what we want to do here at Haylett RV. We don't accept inventory until it's complete. The way we look at it, we're paying the full invoice, you're paying a full purchase price. We both expect the RV to be complete when you get it. Now, I have a service team to take care of some things that maybe got missed for whatever reason. But we're certainly not accepting incomplete RVs. And anytime you hear dealership that is, it's a decision that they've made, basically. And I tell you, I know I'm pretty encouraged by what I heard from guys like Jody and Dwayne there, echoing a lot of what I've kind of felt. But there are times where, like, I got a pretty good finger on the pulse of stuff, but I don't always see everything, you know, so it's nice to hear it from another perspective. I tell you, too, I am glad inventory is going to come in on a more consistent, even keel versus a big burst and surge of inventory. I don't like bursty, surgy stuff. I don't think this industry is really well suited. It can't really handle that kind of extra influx all in one shot like that. And I think a good example of that is when we saw what we saw coming out of quarantine. I don't believe there is a single RV dealership out there whose like online review reputation scores went up during that period. I know ours stayed very consistent. I also know we did see a handful of people leave us reviews who were completely factual. I don't discredit this. I'm not pointing fingers or nothing. Who said things like, we tried to call Haylett RV and no one called us back. Understand the surge of demand that happened coming out of those months. Because remember, guys, I'd been saying for weeks before quarantine ended, it's like a hose that was kinked, and when you let go, all the customers are gonna come flying out. And it's exactly what happened. Instead of being like a garden hose, it was a fire hose. It was just way bigger than what we ever thought it would be. Well, as a result, there were weeks where we were receiving, within one single week, thousands, literally thousands of calls, emails, questions, visitors, etc. The total number of contacts and questions that we needed to address was just greater than what was physically capable of being served. I don't like that. I hate that. That is the straight facts and truth of it, though. So we had a decision to make. Do we love the one you're with and don't put people on human call waiting? Or do you act like a lion in a zebra herd and do a bad job for more people? Either way, you're gonna have some hurt feelings. So we made the decision to love the one you're with, and that meant some folks, unfortunately, we weren't able to assist right away. Not for lack of trying, it just physically wasn't enough hours in the day to do it. And as a result, a couple of our review scores got knocked. But again, our total review scores stayed very consistent because we did a very good job for the folks we were able to work with. And that's really who we are at Haylett RV. We're not a big bursty sales place. Our family owned and operated place here. We try to do the best we can for the person that's in front of us, and we don't kind of set them aside and move on to the next one until we've done the job in front of us. And it's not always easy when you have all kinds of, sometimes I tell you, sometimes it sort of feels like you're feeding a nest of baby birds and there's a bunch of little birds with mouths open wanting campers, and you do the best you can to feed them all around, but sometimes there just ain't enough worms to make it all happen. And all this kind of begs the question, okay, so if I called you at Haylett RV and I put in my personal build request with the equipment specifically that I want today, when am I getting my camper? And there's no specific answer to that because it really does vary based on what camper you're looking at, how often they build it, have they built it recently, is it pushed back in the build cycle, is it coming up soon, things like that. There are some things that are built with more frequency than others. That is one of the reasons, like, you're finding there's the trailers showing up right now tend to be the ones with the highest volume kind of things. But basically, guys, if you gave us a call and you put in your personal request for something today, you're looking December-ish, January-ish, and that answer leans more toward January with every day, every minute, basically. Every day that they schedule the next thing, that time frame gets slotted back a little bit. Now, that is a little bit better than I would have expected given the current circumstance, but that's also part of the reason inventory is a little slow to land at a dealership, because when you place your personal request, it goes in the front of the next time they build that floor plan, yours is going to get built. If I have a request for that same model, but for just general inventory, yours is going to get built before mine. So that is one of the reasons why, if you want to make sure you can get your hands on something before next year, this is a great time to be putting your name in on something. Another thing is, if you can get your name put in on something before the turn of the year. I've already mentioned that we had some material cost increases. Those happen on the fly throughout the year. What also seems to happen every single year is, as the calendar year flips, it always seems like manufacturers have anywhere from a 1/2 to 2% base price increase. I'm hoping with the material costs that just got put in place, that doesn't happen, or is really minimal this year. But I know that from my dozen years of experience doing this, it seems like every single year that happens. It's called price creep, and it's just kind of unavoidable. So getting your name in on something now versus later may save you some money. And again, that's true not just buying here from Haylett RV. I don't care what dealership, like maybe you're watching our video and you're considering taking your business somewhere else. I would appreciate the fair opportunity to work with you in return for our efforts, but what I just shared is true regardless of what dealership you're talking to, regardless of what country they happen to even be in. This is just a full RV industry scenario. And one last thing before we wrap up here, I would like to extend a personal thank you to Mr. Simon from the Coachman Laminated Warranty Department. People don't realize how thankless of a job it is working in service departments, and especially working in like a manufacturer service or warranty department. They never get to hear or see the positive end result. And Simon recently went above and beyond for us, invested some personal time, and made something come together for one of our clients, someone who had already purchased a camper here at Haylett RV, and we were really running out of options. We tried everything that we could to get this customer back on the road, and unfortunately just we weren't getting answers. Well, Simon went to bat for us. Simon got it done, and Mr. Simon, I know you don't hear it a lot, but thank you. You really make the difference, and you absolutely made the difference in this case, so thank you very much. So a little bit long-winded and unorthodox, but if that doesn't describe me to a T, then I don't know what does. So give our team here at Haylett RV a call. Hit that subscribe button, follow along. We're gonna try to keep these updates coming roughly monthly here, get you some more info. Actually, speaking of which, I gotta go record a wheel bearing wash and repack video at Dwayne, and why you should do that, and you know what you might need to know. So as always, thank you, and take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy Haylett camping, everyone.
Fire hose!